Welcome back, everyone, to the School of Greatness podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm in Tony Robbins' jet. Good to see you. Thanks thanks for inviting me on your jet. I'm very excited to be here.
It's kind of a crazy place to meet, but I have to go. So
yeah.
This is the quick run and gun interview.
You've got a documentary coming out right now that you're headed to Palm Springs for, so we're doing it on the jet, which is incredible. And it inspires me about the topic we're covering, which is on your book, Money, Master the Game, 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom. You've shown that you have the financial freedom, but you didn't always have financial freedom. In fact, when you were growing up, you were really poor, right?
Extremely
poor.
We had no money at Thanksgiving for food. It's part of why last year I started feeding when I was 17. I started feeding families because I was fed when I was 11. And I fed 2 families literally, and it was so moving. I said, I'm gonna double it. I went to 4 and then to 8. And then it was like a game to see could I reach more people. And then I started with some of my employees. And then eventually I got to 1 million people a year, then 2 million. Then I started matching my foundation with 2 million. So for 12 years, I fed 4 million people a year. And then when I was writing this book, I'm interviewing, if you can imagine, all these people started with nothing and are multi-billionaires. At the same time, Congress cut food stamps, it's called SNAP now, but it was food stamps originally, by $8 billion. Wow. So it's equivalent, to give you an idea, of every family that's being supported giving up all their meals 1 week out of every month for 12 months. Wow. So I decided I wanted to do something about it. So I got a $5 million advance for the book. I gave all the money to Feeding America. And then I said, if I want to feed 100 million people, what I got to do? So I wrote a much bigger check. And now we did 102 million people last year, but now I'm going to do 100 million again this year. And I got a plan to feed 1 billion people over the next 10 years. So it's so full circle from where I began. It's crazy. And it's an incredible privilege to be able to make a difference like that.
Why is it important to be thinking of giving and contribution in order to generate wealth? When people say that, well, I don't have much to give. I'm barely making enough to pay my rent, my food. How can I have the mindset of giving in order to build wealth? What would you say?
It's the only, you never get beyond scarcity. You got to start beyond it. You got to plant your feet. And, so many people say, well, when I'm rich, I'll give some money. Right. If you won't give a dime out of a dollar, I can promise you're not going to give 10 million out of 100 million. Right. Not in a trillion years. So if you start, what I always believe is it transforms you. I had a group of kids that I went to, like when I was 31 years old, I was invited to this grade school in Houston, Texas. And each grade did a little mini assembly for me of how they used my stuff, at that year. And at the end, I was really emotional. And I was like, you guys asked me to come inspire you. You've inspired me. And so the 6th graders had only done it for 1 year. And I said, I'm going to sponsor your college educations. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I didn't have the money to do it. But I said, I was 31 years old. Wow. I was doing well, but not that well. And I said, I'm going to pay for your college educations. But I said, here are the rules of the game. And I just made it up while I was right there. I said, you got to keep a B average. I'll get you mentors. There's no excuse not to be above average. You got to not use drugs. You not get yourself in prison. And you got to give me 20 hours of community service a year. Wow. And the reason I did that is I don't have a college education, but I knew if I got these kids who thought they needed something to be the ones to go give something, it would change their identity, it would change their life more than college. Right. And ironically, I think we had 70 kids originally. I lost 95 kids I was going to lose. I lost the first year. It was like 30 kids. And the reason was their parents did not want them to have to do community service. They said they should be receiving, they shouldn't have to work. And it was just staggering to me. Wow. But the ones that did it, some have PhDs now, went through that process. So I really believe that the secret to living is giving, as corny as it sounds. I had an experience where I was driving on the 57 freeway, not far from here in San Gabriel Valley. And it was midnight. I was driving my 1968 Volkswagen Bug, Baja Bug. And I was been in business for, a year and a half. And I was working my guts out. And I was so frustrated because, I always say that most people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in a decade or 2 or 3, right? So I'd been working for this year and a half as hard as I could work, and nothing was working at the level I wanted. And I was so frustrated. I was mad with myself. I was mad with the environment. I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed. It's midnight. I'm exhausted. And all of a sudden, this thought hit me, and I literally pulled over on the side of the road. And I've always kept physical journals. I still have the journal to this day. And I wrote on this one whole page, the secret to living is giving. Wow.